When somebody decides they want to get better at the sport, at any sport really, but at our sport, they very often think in terms of, I just need to get stronger, or I just need to go out climbing more often. But you can structure training to be more effective. And one of the things that we've kind of come around to is this three-part framework of deciding what to work on with a particular athlete. The three parts of that framework are mental, physical, and technical. And within each one of those, there are different things that we can work on. In the mental side of things, we can work on our emotional side, on our cognitive side, or on our tactical side of doing things. Very often you can see a climber that can improve their tactics, improve their emotional relationship with the sport, and they don't have to get stronger at all to see big improvements. These are mostly things that work well to talk to a coach about, to talk with a sports psychologist, or to talk with climbing partners. Very often your climbing partner will see something happening with you that you yourself don't see. It's super common for people to be afraid while climbing, so much so that the fear actually shuts down a lot of our physical capability. It's not uncommon for me to have somebody that has unbelievable numbers if we do an endurance style test in the gym, but they're so afraid that they can't replicate that same endurance when they're at the top of a climb. And so addressing these things that are these big limiters are really, really key. Journaling, discussing it with partners, discussing it with a professional, these are all really critical to do. And you're never, ever, ever going to be strong enough physically to overcome a big mental barrier. And so it's important to address those things head on. With the mental side of performance, we can address those things at the very same time that we're addressing the physical side of things. I think that any athlete that is physically training should also be doing some amount of training on their emotional and mental side of things the entire time that they're training. The second part of it is physical preparation, and this is where we prepare for strength or endurance or improve our mobility. And when we look at those sorts of things, that facet of performance is done through training, through repetitively going through progressively more and more difficult workouts, difficult sessions in the gym. We can develop strength, we can develop stamina, we can develop explosive power, we can improve our mobility. This also needs to be developed all the time. It is possible to stay very, very fit if you get to go climbing all the time. But if we're looking for a long career where we're injury-free and we want to have some semblance of a normal life, it's probably going to be part of your week-to-week schedule that you end up in the gym at some point. Strength is the foundation for all physical development. All other facets of fitness are derivatives of strength, and so that's a great place to start. When we're developing a physical side of things, we need to train regularly with progressive overload and following the principles that we've talked about in the video, Principles of Training. And then we can include the technical side of things and we can include the mental side of things. The third part is what we call the technical end of things. And in the technical end of things is where we look at positioning and movement and momentum. And so within each one of those things, we can look, can this athlete get into the right positions for climbing well? If an athlete can't position themselves correctly, the answer isn't to make their fingers stronger. The answer is to try to get back into the gym and help them learn to move and position themselves well. We're looking not only at positioning, but moving between positions and then learning to use momentum in those movements. And those are all three discrete, separate, important parts of our technical training. And you'll see that there are athletes that really shine in the physical part. Like, I want to get really strong fingers. I want to spend my time on the hangboard. You'll also see climbers that just want to move. They want to spend time perfecting the movement. And somewhere marrying those two things together is probably where our best physical improvement can come. When we're going into the technical aspects of climbing, that's where we practice rather than training. The practice has to be structured, it has to be purposeful, it has to be progressive, but it doesn't have to result in this physical overload every single time. For example, if I'm working on high stepping, I don't need to go until I fail. I just need to work on it until I see a measurable small improvement, work on it again until I see a measurable small improvement, and maybe I can work on that for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks before I've seen a phase shift in that ability. When you're building your training program, I think it's essential that you think in terms of these 3 main blocks: mental, technical, and physical, and how do I develop those in conjunction with each other. So often you'll see somebody say, oh, you just need to climb more. To some degree that's true, but most of us can't just get out and go climbing more. And if we're not aware of the things that are holding us back, just going out to the crag more and more and more isn't going to result in an improvement. And so if we can look at what we're doing in the gym, at the crag, in our brains, and see the things that are limiting us the most, we can eliminate those things, and then when we do just go climbing, we're going to see a performance improvement.